Let's be real. Large language models are everywhere now, and it's so tempting to use them for, well, everything. But what happens when you use them for something as critical as qualitative analysis? It feels like a magic button, right? A perfect shortcut. But as we're about to find out, that convenience, it comes with some serious consequences.
So you're staring at a mountain of interview transcripts, or maybe it's focus group notes, or a ton of open-ended survey answers. You know that feeling. The thought of just copying and pasting it all into a chatbot and asking for the main themes? It sounds like an absolute dream. And honestly, it's a huge temptation for researchers, consultants, you name it.
The convenience part is obvious, but the cost, that's a little more hidden. And no, I'm not talking about the monthly subscription fee. We're talking about the real risks to your data, the integrity of your findings, and frankly, your professional reputation. So let's pull back the curtain and see what's really going on.
All right, first up, the hidden dangers. These are the kinds of risks that you just don't think about when you're asking an AI for a recipe, but they turn into massive liabilities the second you upload sensitive information that belongs to someone else.
Okay, here's the big one. Data protection. When you use a general-purpose chatbot like the free or plus versions, your chats can actually be saved and used to train their models. You have zero control. But with specialized software that uses an API, the rules are totally different. Your data is explicitly not used for training, and they have way stricter data retention policies. For sensitive research, that's not just a small detail, it's everything.
And then there's the accuracy problem. You've probably heard about AI hallucinations, right? That's when the model just confidently makes stuff up that sounds plausible. If you're just messing around, it might be kind of funny, but in research, it's a disaster. It completely contaminates your analysis. That's why specialized software uses a cool technique called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. It basically forces the AI to only, and I mean only, use the documents you provided to come up with its answers. No more making things up.
This brings us to a huge point: accountability. In any serious analysis, you've got to be able to show your work. Where did that insight come from? A general chatbot might give you a vague answer and then, poof, this session is gone. It's a dead end. But these specialized tools, they give you a full audit trail. They can point you to the exact passage in your source document. That means you can check its work, and more importantly, you can actually trust the output.
And look, this is not just some problem for academics in an ivory tower. Think about it. You've got evaluation specialists with super sensitive feedback from stakeholders. You've got consultants with confidential client material, market researchers whose work is guiding million-dollar decisions. For all of these people, data protection and being able to verify your findings are completely non-negotiable.
Okay, so we've talked about the scary stuff. Now what? The goal here isn't to run away from AI. It's about learning how to use it the smart way, the safe way. So let me give you a really simple, actionable playbook you can use.
I want you to think of it as a 3-tier rule of thumb. It's super easy. Tier 1, the free or plus accounts. Just treat these like a public coffee shop. Great for brainstorming ideas, but you would never discuss your confidential research data there, right? Tier 2, team or enterprise accounts. These are a bit safer, designed for work inside an institution, because your data isn't used for training. And then there's Tier 3, API use. This is the gold standard. It's the safest option where you have the most control.
And this 3-tier rule isn't just some nice idea. It lines up directly with legal and ethical rules like GDPR. With those free accounts, you're pretty much failing basic data protection principles. Team accounts, they can be lawful, but you usually need some specific agreements in place with your institution. The API, though, that's where you get strong compliance. It's built with data protection by design, which is exactly what ethics boards want to see.
At the end of the day, it all boils down to this one simple test. Could you stand in front of an ethics board, or a client, or even one of your research participants and explain with 100% confidence where their data is going and how it's being used? If the answer is no, you've got a problem. That's the bar we all need to clear.
Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. Hey, what if I just anonymize all the data first? Doesn't that solve everything? It's the question that always comes up, and it's a great one. But the answer? Well, it's a little more complicated than you might think.
First, we got to get our words right because it matters. True anonymization means all identifying info is gone forever. It's impossible to re-identify someone. And honestly, with rich qualitative data, that's incredibly hard to do. What most of us are actually doing is pseudonymization. That's where you swap out names for codes or something. But here's the kicker. Under rules like GDPR, that's still considered personal data because often the context is enough to figure out who someone is.
So what does this mean for our rule of thumb? It means that even though removing names and direct identifiers is a good step that reduces risk, It is absolutely not a free pass. It doesn't solve the core problem of using an insecure, consumer-grade tool for sensitive data.
And you can see right here how this plays out. Even if your data is pseudonymized, using a free or plus account is still a huge problem because you're handling personal data without the right safeguards. Sure, the risk is a bit lower with a team account, but the API route, that's still the best practice, the gold standard. It shows you're taking every single precaution you possibly can.
So let's wrap this all up. The choice you have to make isn't really about using AI versus not using AI. The real choice is this. Is the AI tool you're using a reliable, trustworthy partner in your work, or is it a ticking time bomb, a hidden professional liability?
So here's your game plan, your path to making AI a reliable partner. First, embrace the convenience but never, ever forget the risks. Second, use that 3-tier rule of thumb every single time and choose your tier based on how sensitive your data is. Third, for any serious qualitative work, just make specialized software or API use your default. And finally, number 4, remember that just removing names isn't a silver bullet. It doesn't make all the problems magically disappear.
And that brings us to the final question, the one I want you to take with you. The next time you go to use an AI for your work, ask yourself, is this tool a reliable partner that's going to make my work better and safer? Or is it a professional liability that could put everything at risk? The choice and the responsibility is yours.
So